Hey there, Nisha. Did you have time to go through that issue 940 of one image spec and add the other names into the votes? Otherwise, I probably have edit access in there, don't I? They do give me access. And if you're commenting, you're on mute, or at least I can't hear it. Now, how on earth did your mute button get blocked by that? That sounds like a Zoom bug because we have no host and I'm able to unmute myself. Are other people able to unmute themselves?
I can.
Yeah.
I can too.
All right. I just blame Nisha Zoom.
Looks good here.
Give her a second to rejoin. And while that's happening, I think the only thing on my list today was the issues on image spec. So let me copy that one in. So I'm thinking the issue 940 over on image spec. I'll also copy it over here to the Zoom chat. That one has the discussion on what we call this thing, if we're going to rename it. And so if we do that, I want to do that sooner rather than later. And otherwise, say that we're stuck with the name and live with it because code's starting to get written. And I think people want to be able to commit and release. At least I do. The niches are multiplying. I'll go ahead and share what I'm doing. Which at least right now is just going through the 940 issue and putting some names by these things. So got Jam's done there. And he also wanted to be on relates too. And we weren't doing a comma separator. Okay. Got to keep this consistent. This was the only one on my list today. So if anybody has other things on the agenda, feel free to throw them in. Feel free to chime in. It only gets so exciting watching me update things like this. Mike had his entry in there for the subject and refers. So we'll put both of those. Refers came from Locky. Subject refers. Oh, I see Nisha off mute.
Yeah, can you hear
Hey,
me?
we can hear you.
I don't know. There was something wrong with the meeting link and my Zoom client.
I blame Zoom for everything. The root of all evil.
Especially Zoom on Linux.
Actually, Zoom on Linux is one of the few things that seems to work for me. I've got so many others that don't. Can't tell if that's the right bar. Oh, sorry. Okay. I'm going through and updating the tally over here, Nisha.
Thank
So
you.
let's see. I've got Locky over here on his. And then myself, I just threw mine on there. I think we're going to end up seeing a tie on this at the end of the day. So we got 4 for refers. I thought there was another one for refers too. Was that maybe Locky? Let's see. I got jam stuff. Mike was on this one. Let's see. Refers and subject, and then me. I think that's all of them.
I think you got it.
So given that, I get the feeling we're going to say status quo is good enough.
Yeah.
We're not excited about it, but we didn't like have an overwhelming, everybody jumped to another one. Folks on this one feel comfortable with that? At least gives us a move forward direction. I'm going to take silence as golden.
What was the direction? Refers.
Yeah, we're just going to stick with status quo, unless we're really close on relates to relationships. I wasn't a fan of the underscore. We could always change that to camel case if we needed to.
Yeah, I think I didn't vote, I guess, but refers or subject makes the most sense to me. So that I think still leaves us with keeping the status quo.
Yep. Okay, I think we can check another item off here, which is the refers naming. The must language, do we discuss that in here? I know we discussed it somewhere. I think that was over in distribution spec. Let me go pull that one up because that's another important one that we have been discussing. So this was the follow-up on the language here that says a registry may reject the manifest if it doesn't see the blob, but that originally we were saying it should accept a manifest if it sees a reference to a manifest doesn't exist, the refers field. And so that was kind of giving us some guidance, a little bit of guidance saying, hey, you probably should allow this. But logically, those two are identical because it's basically saying may on either, may reject on either. And so the question here was, do we want to change that to must? And I think there was a little bit of confusion just seeing the must language, and I had a comment down here that might have cleared it up a little bit. Where was that? Where you're saying a registry must accept a manifest that doesn't exist. And then the question was, let's see, did I say the same? What did I change in this? If it, instead of that references, if it references. The concern here I was looking at was if we say a registry must accept a manifest with a refers field to a manifest doesn't exist, that kind of implies that you can break everything else in the repo. And as long as you have a reference to a manifest doesn't exist, then the registry must accept it. And I was like, that's not really what we're trying to say here. And so I was looking at other ways to phrase that of saying maybe a registry must not reject a manifest because a refers field references a manifest that does not exist. And that might be a little bit more clear of what we're trying to say. Is the word because, does that make sense in the specs the way we've been writing them so far, or is that the wrong word to use? No screams of pain from the peanut gallery.
Should that be a general thing, or is it just for the refers field?
We are looking at just for the first field because right now the language says, apologies for the scrolling, that a registry may reject if it references a blob that doesn't exist. And right now, pretty much every registry out there that I've seen takes this a lot more strict, and they basically say, we are going to reject your manifest if you try to upload and the blob that you're referencing doesn't exist. And we've even got the error code defined and everything in there. So if you try to push a manifest before you push the blobs, the registry says, nope, wait, you need to push the blobs first. And this is one of those few cases where we said, actually, let's flip that scenario around. Make it so that the registry needs to allow the push of the refer before the manifest that it refers to exist. So that's inverting it. Go ahead, Nisha.
Oh, I was going through my head whether it's okay to say like a registry may reject a manifest, but manifest blob, it can return a manifest blob unknown error code. But that's what Michael had written up there.
Yeah, that's the way the language is right now. And the concern we had with that being that way is, A, it's basically saying the same thing we've already got. In other words, this line in the middle here is redundant because should accept is the same thing as may reject. It's, we just inverted the terminology there, but otherwise it's the exact same condition there. And so given that, it was a question of why do we even need that in there? And the other question is, well, if a registry can reject, then what does that do to client implementations and other use cases out there? And it really drove it to me that I'm wondering, does it make sense just to change it to a must? Because for a lot of the use cases I'm thinking of, it's nice if the client can know that it's allowed to push this, and that's going to be portable across all registries. It doesn't have to worry about this registry is going to reject it, this one's going to accept it, and it needs to worry about the different use cases depending on where it sends the artifact to. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me.
And I see Mike Brown's comment, good to move forward with a stronger language. And who wants to open the PR? I'm happy to open the PR on that one as long as we're thumbs up on what we can do with that one. For wording wise on this, I don't want to change it, just must accept that references and manifest does not exist, because that gives that a little overzealous terminology there that someone might interpret wrong. And so either if it references a manifest, the if kind of gives a little bit more clear that we're saying, hey, if the manifest doesn't exist, you must accept it because of that, but not if something else is wrong with it. But I think the most clear is to say it must not reject because of this one condition. And so you may be able to reject it for a different condition, but not because of this condition. So I'll probably go with this third option unless someone says otherwise.
Third option sounds good to me.
Cool.
Sounds good to me.
All right, so I'll throw that as an action item. I don't think we've seen any other complaint here. I'm not sure what Nemo was saying in this. I was a little bit confused to what was going on. If other people follow along with that, feel free to chime in there.
I'll chat with him.
Okay.
We're gonna talk
Yeah,
later today.
Yeah, I was saying some stuff in there, but I was like, I'm not really sure I follow. So cool. Got some direction. That's 2 items off our list to do both of those. Let me see if there was anything else big that we wanted to cover. And like I say, chime in if you want to talk about stuff. Let's pull up our remaining task over on the distribution spec. And since we picked the name, I think we got that. And since we've got our should to a must, I think we got that language in there. There was a comment early on if we wanted to include some details of why we were saying that. I can put a little bit in there, but I want to try to be careful I don't step on the GC language just because we've been careful not to include that in the spec so far. And I don't want to be the one that touched the third rail yet. I figure we can always do that another day.
I think the third option in the image spec covers that bit.
Third option, image spec.
Oh no, the fact that the registry.
This third option?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we've got that. That'll cover, that covers this bullet here. And then the refers. We did go through and say refers to and refers list in a lot of places. So I think we've already gotten that covered. And as long as we don't change the terms, I think we're good with that one. That I think is getting us pretty much toward the end of the punch list. When we get the other Michael Brown here, I think he's probably got a few items that he wants to talk about still, but I don't know enough about his ideas to comment for him. How's everyone else feeling about this? Any last requests before we start to say, hey, we've got this finished up? Must not recheck sounds multiple negations versus must accept. Yeah. I get the concern there, Sajay.
We have to write if checks for each one, right? I was thinking like, I think it's just being nitpicky here, but if there's 3 votes for must not reject, then let's just go with that. I don't have any, I'm not going to block on that. It's just the second one to me seems much more clearer. Basically, you're saying that the registry must accept, so you can write a conformance with accepting manifest type, so and a null reference field or a reference field that doesn't have the digest, versus how do you test for something that doesn't reject is just a way of thinking there. So I don't know what the rest of the specification, what form they follow versus this one, but feel free to submit the PR and maybe other folks can kind of comment on this.
Yeah, the reason that I'm concerned about the wording is the thing I want to make sure we don't allow is to say, if you upload a manifest that has the refers field pointing to a missing manifest, just doesn't exist on the machine, that's not an excuse that you're allowed to push that one with 15 other things wrong with it, every other blob missing or something like that. That doesn't override all the other checks that are also happening.
Your second one calls out specifically the reference field, right?
Yeah, it's saying with the refers field, if it references manifest doesn't exist, but it's saying a registry, if this happens, it must accept it.
I see.
And that's what I'm trying to avoid of saying, of like, I don't want to say you must accept it because that scenario exists. I want to say that, hey, if you're going through your rejection clauses of reasons why,
can we invert the wording saying that the referers field, the manifest that the referers field is pointing to may not exist in the repository, rather than talking about the acceptance or rejectance of the rejecting of the manifest itself? Because what you're trying to say is that this manifest is a valid manifest, even if the reference field is pointing to an invalid manifest, as long as it's a proper descriptor.
Yeah. I'll think about wordsmithing a little bit more.
Okay.
Because the triple negative is a good call out there.
It's just about how, I think I did not see the point that you were saying, which is just because the reference field is invalid doesn't mean the manifest is valid, right? So that makes sense. But we need to kind of I think the point here that we want to make is that the reference field might point to something that is non-existent at this point.
Yeah, or Michael Brown's comment there of an otherwise valid manifest.
Okay, yeah, that's also,
that might be a good. Yeah, that might be another good way of saying it. All right, I can work on that as a PR later on. Cool. So 20 minutes in, we finished up all the bullets here. I think we finished up this bullet here. The other one was coming off from a comment from Michael Brown, the other Michael Brown. So I don't know how to answer that one either. I can't represent him here on this one. So I think we've hit our punch list. We'll get IBM Michael Brown to chime in later on some of his items, but so far that is pretty much everything we had. Any other requests to do today? We do have some people that are maintainers here. Let me pull up another page. This one just might be getting someone to jump on, just saying looks good to me. If I go over to the open containers website, we got a website over here, right? This was just a quick one, so I figured just throwing a little bit of visibility on it. We added the distribution spec a while back, but we didn't update the documentation on the page to say we added distribution specs. So now this is just going through, and everywhere it said 2 specifications, it changed it to 3, and everywhere we mentioned the list of specifications out there of we've got a runtime spec, an image spec, and a distribute. Now we've added that we also have a distribution spec. So a few places over there in docs. I think we just need one more person to chime in that has maintainer access over on this side to throw on a second thumbs up, and we can get that merged. So I will drop this in the comments and also in our notes. And yeah, if anybody has a chance, give it a look. I think we got a few people over here that probably have maintainer access over there. It's, I don't know how I got added onto that one, which one of the distribution or image spec, or I guess any spec, they threw me on the maintainer list on that one. So I think that's pretty open for us to hit thumbs up.
I think
I'm
you
not
and
sure how
Ajay
that's-
are on the maintainers for image spec now.
Yeah, I'm on image and distribution, but that
Oh,
gave me
okay.
access over here. So I don't know which one of those carried over or if it's any.
I'm not sure how that's set up. I would expect that I would probably have access and I don't. So
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I threw the check on there and it turned green. So I was like, oh, cool. All right. So with that, I would say, Samuel, if you chime in over there and give that your thumbs up, I'll take that as good enough for me. It's technically, I can hit merge on it right now. It's not blocking me from merging it. I just want to get a second thumbs up. All right, that was everything on my list. Anybody else have anything else, or do you want back another 35 minutes to go through all the 15,000 things we're all trying to get done in a day?
If I didn't put this on the agenda, unfortunately, but you're aware of this PR, Brandon. The schema changes to, and the schema test for the refers as well. That's open as a PR. So if you do get time, I can ping, tag you and others on that as well.
Is that over in distribution spec?
No, it's in the image spec.
Image spec, okay. Thanks. I know I've got one over there for the JSON schema.
Since we
That
didn't
one's-
change the field name, I don't have to change the test.
Isn't that awesome? What was the number on that one? Is that 942? Yeah, you can't ask me to look at it. I've already given you a thumbs up. That one, we've got we're waiting on a second thumbs up over there. So it can't be me. That was, I'll throw that up on the big screen for anybody who's looking at it. We've got schema test out here for this. And so I've already thrown my thumbs up on this one. This one also brought into question, someone saw it and jumped in there and did across the board, which was good and slightly bad. Only slightly bad. To change all the IOUtil references, because if anybody knows the Golang side of this, Golang deprecated that whole package a while back. So they went through and did the renames to all the new names of the fields, but that means that depending on which one of these, whether this IOUtil deprecation or the schema change goes in first, we'll have a little conflict in there between the files. So
You can rebase, it's fine.
one or the other will just have to rebase. It's not a big deal. But yeah, I've already given you the thumbs up on that one. I think I've also given the thumbs up over here. So we just need someone else to jump over there. Yep. Someone else jump in there and hit approve, and then we can get that knocked out. Cool. Anything else?
Not for me. I think I'll be spending my time doing other things now. You may not see me as often as.
Oh, we miss having you around here.
No, really, that makes me feel good.
You're welcome to come and join in anytime you want. Give us some good notes. We like the good notes. All right.
Thanks
And-
a lot.
And on that note, I'm going to give everybody back 30 minutes here. I think we've been pretty productive. I will go out and make a PR for the one change for the must language, and we'll go forward from there. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care, guys. Great weekend.
Thanks.